guys, it's Charles with Kizomba, and I'm here with you guys today. We're going to talk about the Kizomba teaching method and what it is that I'm kind of envisioning and the way that my mind works. So I remember when I first learned Kizomba here in the States. There was a festival. Jorge Elizondo had Afro-Latin Connection and some instructors from Spain, and they were trying to teach us the basic steps and the flow and the technique, and then they started teaching us like these tricks and these leans like from like the same weekend. And of course we got all excited and enthusiastic about Kizomba. Was like, oh, this dance is great, I want to learn it, what's going on? I think there was an instructor training that same weekend at the Congress for people to start teaching Kizomba, and it was just a lot of things happening at once with Kizomba. From there, I started taking classes from other instructors, and that was in July. And then in December, I was flying to Madrid to go to my first Kizomba Congress, the Central Dance Festival in Madrid in 2012, I think. And one thing that kind of like confused the hell out of me at the beginning was so many different styles. And it's like, okay, well, I understand that that's the person's style. I understand that that's person's style, but like, what do I need to do? Like, what's the core element here that I need to understand? One thing that I very quickly realized was that the level that they were teaching was like way up here, and then from people that were starting way down here, like we were trying to like do all of these advanced tricks and stuff like that, but we didn't even know what we were doing or what the technique was, and like, it's really confusing at the beginning because there were so many different instructors, so many different styles, so many different steps, and these steps didn't have any names. That one move where you push your leg out and then I step and then she does a syncopation and then we both end up facing a different direction. Yeah, I want to learn how to do that move. Seriously? Another thing that was extremely frustrating was that when sometimes you go to these workshops and things like that from instructors from overseas, and it was really hard to understand them because they didn't have the best English. So it's like, how can you communicate a high level technique or feeling or step if I can't even understand what you're saying, or I see that you're doing it, but I just need somebody to break down the feeling for it. It was so difficult to kind of learn at the beginning because it was just like this big blob of Kizomba. And then there was like retro Kizomba and ghetto zouk and zouk bass and semba, and then all these other dances going on, and then like it was like really overwhelming to really want to start to learn the dance. And it was really frustrating at the beginning because I really wanted to put my best foot forward, learn as much as I could with Kizomba, especially when I started teaching, but I didn't really have like a set structured way of like, okay, this is step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, on and so forth. So there has to be a better way to learn this beautiful dance. And so the more I started to teach, I started to pull back less. Let's say Kizomba is ice cream sundae, and you have vanilla ice cream, and that's like your core foundational things. And then you can add like some chocolate syrup and some strawberries and sprinkles and walnuts and all this other stuff on top of it to kind of develop your own personalized ice cream sundae, which is your style, Kizomba sundae. So when you're first learning something at the beginning, forget about the style. Let's focus on the actual ice cream and give yourself some foundation, you know? When I first started teaching, I kind of fell into the same pattern. I just kind of did what I saw other instructors do as far as they teach Kizomba. They kind of stayed in front of the class. They kind of taught this interesting pattern that probably had 8 or 9 different techniques wrapped into that one pattern over 4 to 5 8 counts, and let the people kind of try it out. If they got it, it was awesome. If they didn't get it, too bad. And that was it. They took your money, and then you kind of had to go back home and try to kind of decipher the interesting pattern that they taught to you. One thing that kind of was a light bulb moment for me was like, okay, I taught this awesome pattern that wasn't too hard. Let's see what they do when they go out to the social. And guess what they did when they were at the social? They did the same pattern, but it wasn't well executed, and then they would just stand there and do like basic 1 or basic 2. They weren't rotating around, they weren't doing anything, and then they tried to do like the same pattern all over again. And then sometimes they'll be dancing with an absolute beginner, and I just taught you intermediate pattern, and they're trying to do the intermediate pattern with a beginner girl, which is something that you shouldn't do because you should be aware of the girl that you're dancing with in the first place. So I just saw all of these gaps in what I was teaching and what I saw on the social dance floor and what I saw retained. Nope, they didn't remember because it didn't click in their heads. They didn't know what to call it. They didn't know any of the moves. They didn't have any musicality of like the simple things. And so there was like this big blob of people dancing and learning and trying different things, and there was like no order. You know what? Enough is enough. Let's like break this ish down and see exactly what the movement is and what you need to actually focus on right now at this point in your Kizomba journey. I view Kizomba as kind of like learning a piano. You know, I can go to my first Kizomba class or my first piano class and I could play chopsticks. Ding 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 ding. If I keep taking those classes and I keep practicing and stuff like that, maybe in a year or a year and a half or 2 years, I'll be able to play like some Beethoven or Tchaikovsky or Mozart or something like that. Something super advanced. But the gap between chopsticks and Beethoven, there's a lot of technique that needs to be learned along the way, you know? It's the same thing with Kizomba. You can learn a few basic things to kind of get on the dance floor. That's fine. But if you really want to grow with Kizomba, you have to kind of learn the technique in kind of an organized fashion. So I hate teaching random patterns. I like to teach musical variations of a particular technique. Instead of throwing 3, 4, 5, 6 different techniques at you at one time, I want to teach you one technique or maybe one basic step and teach you to dance that one basic step in a whole bunch of different ways, to different types of music, to slow music, to fast music, to changing direction to the left, changing direction to the right. And so you really understand that core movement and you have different varieties in your tool belt to use on the dance floor. So then I kind of ran into guys that had no rhythm. So with these guys that didn't have any timing, I had to really just put some timing like right there in the spoon. I'm like, here's some musicality for you, because they couldn't get it. I started teaching these things. I started giving my steps names. I started giving the timings, like basic timings, names. And I just really wanted to see people really learn the dance and understand the way that I kind of saw things in my head. And so I make all these kind of crazy analogies and different steps and names. And if you've taken my workshop before, you definitely know what I'm talking about. But like the main thing was like teaching from here and really wanting people to learn the movement or the step or to understand the concept of what it is that I was trying to get them to achieve. And I just felt that there had to be a better way. I know there's some people out there say, well, you haven't even been dancing Kizomba that long. Who are you to come up with your own method? You're crazy. You need to keep learning. You still to keep training and things like that. It's like, of course, like an instructor is always going to be an eternal student. They're always going to be learning, taking new workshops, always working to increase their level. That's always going to be the case with me, and that's what I preach in all of my workshops. But at the same time, if I did not start teaching Kizomba, when I started teaching Kizomba, knowing very little compared to what I have now, like I would have never gotten to this point if I didn't start back then. So I just think it's so important to like start with what you have and then let it progress and develop into something better. As you get more experience, as you get more knowledge, as you get more training, start with something and then progress along the way. You have so many people that don't start anything because the first thing that they start isn't going to be perfect. Is the Neo-Kizomba method towards teaching Kizomba perfect? No, it is not. After teaching as many workshops as I've taught and teaching different people of different backgrounds and the feedback that I get from people that have took my classes, it's like, oh, like now this makes a lot of sense. Oh, I'm so glad that you taught the guys this. So much positive feedback from the way that I've been teaching, kind of basically breaking things down with Kizomba. I just knew that I was on to something, and that's what I really truly believe in. With Kizomba, like I'm definitely not the most advanced technical dancer. I'm not the most polished performer with Kizomba. I think the main thing that really people resonate with me and when it comes to Kizomba is my teaching method. And that's, I think, the main thing that why people in Congress is invest in me and bring me out is because they really want to learn, and I bring that X factor to teaching Kizomba. Yes, I'm still learning. Yes, I'm still growing. Yes, I'm still interested in trying to train as much as I can. But at the same time, if I can help somebody else who's trying to get up to the level that I'm at right now, or to get started or something like that, hell yeah, I'm going to help that person, because it's coming from the heart. And even if you take away the dance of Kizomba, start to really study the way that people learn, like some people learn auditorily, some people learn visually, some people need to touch and actually do things kinetically to get things down. After seeing the different ways that people's brain clicked and to get that light bulb moment, it just really, really inspires me to kind of keep going and keep kind of innovating this way that I'm kind of viewing Kizomba. So yes, it is a work in progress, but at the same time, I always keep this one quote in mind: imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. So I'll leave it at that. Kizomba's really changed my life. And if you've taken my workshop, you definitely understand that and feel that and know that I dance and teach from the heart, and that's really my main motivation. So I really appreciate you guys listening to me and kind of understanding what it is. If you guys have any comments or concerns or questions or anything like that, definitely hit me up. Let me know. If you want to collaborate or work together, let me know. Let's do this. Let's get Kizomba growing. Let's grow it more, and we will see you on the flip side.